Hello everyone and welcome to Cooking with Lita B. Tonight we're going to be making my infamous lasagna recipe. For those who've been following my blog, this will be the second edition, so the revamped lasagna recipe that I posted back in June. So why don't we get started? These are the ingredients we'll be needing tonight. We have ground beef. The spices, they're not in the regular containers like they normally are. So we have garlic chips, Italian seasoning, minced onion, paprika, parsley flakes, crushed red pepper, black peppercorn. It's in the grinder, it's not in the shaky-do thingy. We also have our cheeses, which is Parmesan Romano cheese, mozzarella, ricotta cottage cheese. For sauce, we have Rinaldi's, which is my favorite. And in this Tupperware thing, we also have more Rinaldi's that we use for another recipe. We also have the lasagna noodles, the most important component, and a little olive oil to brown the beef in, and we also have Pam. So why don't we get started? I'll start boiling the water. Excuse me. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start cooking our ground beef. So we're going to spray the pan, make sure it's well coated on all sides. Here's the cap. And we're going to turn this on medium heat. As you can see in my new apartment, we have electric again, which we know that I prefer cooking on gas, but you use what you got, as I said in my last video. Which, my apologies, I have not done a video in so long. I think I looked back, it was back in February. It was the mango chicken recipe, which you should check out. And we'll also add some of the spices to the beef while it's cooking. This has been in the refrigerator for a while, so it's pulling apart really nice and easy. Normally I have this frozen when I start cooking it, but should be a little quicker to cook this time because it's all the way thawed out. So this is, how much is this? This is about a pound of beef. So we'll only be using like a quarter of this. So probably that, maybe another handful. Yeah, that's enough beef right there. So about that much in the package should be left. So definitely use it for other things. Let me wash my hands. Okay, so let's get the beef cooking here. Stuff. And we're going to add a little olive oil to it. That was probably about a teaspoon left, so it was probably down to there. So I'll just throw this out. So some of the spices I'm going to add to it. I'm definitely going to add the black pepper, and I'll probably add some of the crushed red pepper. As you can see, I'm kind of making this up as I go, which is normally how I cook. And I had that on the fine, as opposed to, coarse. A little crushed red pepper. Really good. And for most of you who know my cooking style, I never measure, but if you're new, I never measure. I normally do oh, that looks good, that should be enough, because I've done enough cooking where I can normally tell. The only time I really use measuring is when I bake. you know, because the like cookie recipes are pretty specific on, you know, how much baking soda, baking powder, and all that jazz. So, okay, so while that's browning, I'm going to start doing the cheese mix. So we're going to move all of this over here. And another thing about my new apartment, there isn't a lot of counter space, so I have to work with what I have. Now, this is actually a new thing for me. I normally use just cottage cheese when I make lasagna, but I decided that I would try a little bit with ricotta too, so I would mix them. So, you know, because I know a lot of people are used to the traditional Italian style with just ricotta and like adding egg and an array of spices to it, but my mom always used cottage cheese because it's less fattening than ricotta. The cameraman's helping out a little bit. So we're going to take this too. Now, I'm starting out on my own, so I don't have a lot of cookingware like I normally do. So we don't have like proper mixing bowls and, you know. But, oops, I used a little too much. This is going to be extra cheesy. Just going to use all of the cottage cheese. I didn't plan on doing that. I originally was going to use half of it, but that's okay. So we're going to stir, that's a little plastic. We're going to stir this around a little bit. So this is going to be a little bit more cottage cheese than ricotta cheese. So we're just stirring this around a little bit before we add the other cheeses and spices. So this is getting nice and thick with the ricotta. I didn't do that. Okay, so let me grab the spices. Okay, so we're going to add the parsley in. Now I normally do about 2 to 3 pinches. Like I said, I don't really measure. So about this much. And a little bit more. Okay. Now I'm also using Italian seasoning, so I'm not going to go crazy with the parsley like I normally do. And also Italian seasoning is another thing that I added recently. Normally I just do parsley and maybe some, you know, depending on who I'm cooking for, paprika or like cayenne. And another thing I started doing recently was adding sauce to the cheese mix. Just like, you know, maybe a couple tablespoons. So this is our onion. We're not going to add too much of that. Maybe another pinch. There we go. The garlic chips are going to wait for a minute because I have to crush those. Because I didn't buy, you know, crushed garlic. I bought the garlic chips because I normally crush them up anyway. Because sometimes I like to leave them whole, you know, for like scalloped potatoes or, you know, some of the other recipes I do. Okay, this is the Italian seasoning. We're going to do a big pinch about like that. And then a little pinch. Okay. Now we're going to stir this around a little bit.
For those of you who couldn't read that out of focus, it was oregano, marjoram, thyme, as well as, I believe, rosemary.
Yes. Okay, so this is coming along nicely. You can see that the spices are getting well mixed in. Whoopsie. Cooking is always messy. I've just come to accept it. Okay, so now I have to crush up the garlic chips after I throw this out. I'm just going to use a plate instead of using a cutting board. So normally I just take like a big spoon like this, and I take a few chips like that. And then I make sure they're in a pile. And then I push it up like this. Now I make sure that my hand is cupped over, so that way it doesn't go everywhere. And sometimes you don't crush them up really fine, which is okay. So if you have like chunks, I know some people are pretty picky about, you know, whether it's really fine or really crushed, but I really don't care. And it looks like our hamburger's about ready. So that's probably good for the garlic. And then we'll stir that in. And I'm kind of stirring it really roughly right now because I still have the mozzarella and the Parmesan to add. Sorry, we're still trying to navigate the kitchen. And as you can see, I have not opened this yet. And it doesn't want to stay open. There we go. Now for the Parmesan, I normally do about 3 to 4 shakes on this one. So just kind of sprinkle it, kind of go back and forth, and that's good. Okay. And then now we're going to add the mozzarella in. And this is a 1 pound bag, so I'm just going to do a couple actually probably that's good. A little more. I always say, oh that's good, then I add a little more. So. And now we're going to stir it around a little bit more. And you can see it's getting pretty nice and thick now. Oh, it looks so good. Sometimes when I'm cooking at home, my mom will yell at me because I'll start eating some of the cheese mix. Just because it's so delicious. It's my favorite part of the lasagna, honestly. Okay.
Cheese, your second favorite food group.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay. So I'm going to add a little sauce to the cheese mix. Just so it has a little more flavor to it. And that's probably good. Just a couple spoonfuls like that. Okay, and our water is really going right now, so I'm going to add the noodles once I get this stirred. I know it looks kind of probably not very appetizing right now with the sauce in it, but I assure you it's quite delicious. Okay. So normally I do 4 layers, so you want like 12 noodles. I normally do 13, like I put 13 in and I do like a test noodle, just so I know that they're really ready for the baking process. So let's see. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so this is going to take about a minute for them to really get cooked. Now, with the lasagna noodles, you don't want them cooked all the way because when it bakes in the oven, it's going to cook a little bit more. And the sauce is going to soak in, and then it's going to be too mushy. So, I know my cooking terminology. And actually, we're going to start preheating the oven now. And it should be at 350. Yeah, they're already starting to fall in there, so it's getting pretty hot. So our hamburger is done. And it should be nice and chopped up like this so it's easier to spread in the lasagna. We'll make sure we stir it so it stays warm. And this is actually pretty well cooked. Normally I have it a little pinker, but not too pink because it's going to bake more in the oven. So normally you don't want everything overcooked. So just for future reference, just have it a little pinker, but this is okay. Okay, well the noodles are really falling down there. And one thing I like to do is just so it's easier, I like to have the colander in the sink already. I'm going to wash out some of these studs. That would help. So I like to have it in the sink already so that way, you're not scrambling and trying to, drain it and when the noodles are already done and whatnot. So it just makes my life a little easier. Although it's funny, every time I go home and I put the colander in the sink, my mom's, she starts like putting dirty dishes on top of it. I'm like, no! But, oh well. So, for those of you who have been following my blog, I know I've been kind of lacking on, that's warm, posting, but it's been kind of crazy with graduating and trying to find a job and finding an apartment, so, yeah, so that's why I've been lacking postings, but I'm really excited because today I looked at my stats and it was 780 views, so I was really happy about that. So keep watching. I also posted, I think it was about 3 or 4 new recipes. One of them is deviled eggs and tuna sandwiches. Another one is an apple bake, which is delicious. I discovered it recently because I couldn't make apple crisp, and it was, just kind of a random thing. I added a little vanilla and a little sugar, and, I baked it in the toaster oven, and it was delicious. And it was like, oh, an accident, great. So, okay, well, we're about ready. So we'll start getting ready to get the noodles in the pan, and we'll spray the pan, and we'll bake it, and we'll post a picture of the final product. So thank you for watching. Be sure to check out my other recipes and blog posts at senorita-lita.blogspot.com, and also be sure to check out my Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/Cooking with Lita B. So thank you. Bye.